A group of creatives from Folkestone wanted to mark the 7 months between World War I armistice and the official signing of the peace treaty by creating 7 giant poppies on the beach, made from local pebbles collected and decorated by local people, and in doing so told 7 important stories. I'm Clare Reeves, a voiceover and sound artist from Folkestone, and I want to tell you all about it.
Hi, I'm Angus Cameron, and I'm one of the lead artists and project manager, it feels like these days, for the Lasting Memories Beach Poppy project.
I'm Ben Brody, I'm an artist from Folkestone, and I'm working alongside Angus Cameron as the project lead on Lasting Memories.
Orlando.
Elizabeth.
Steve.
Mike.
My name is Darienne Price. I'm the Head of Business Operations and Kent Heritage at Screen South.
Fred.
Mary.
Screen South has a history of working on First World War projects, which was why I was very, very excited when Eastcliff Creatives approached me to help them bid for Heritage Lottery funding to do this fantastic project.
Joe.
Liz.
Jeff.
Well, 7 being the 7 months from armistice until the Peace of Versailles was signed. So armistice was the 11th of November 1918, but the Peace of Versailles wasn't actually signed until the 28th of June 1919. So we had 7 months. And then when we started to look at it, we thought there were 7 important themes which were affecting people that were living in Folkestone at the time. And along with my team of volunteers, researchers, Andy Wright, Sheila Wright, Hayley Restall, Tessa Ivory and James Smith, who have been really supported by local people supplying images, Alan Taylor and Christine Warren and Eamon Rooney. We've actually dug down into what was going on in Folkestone. We've been in the newspaper archives, and families themselves have come forward and given us bits of history about people.
Amelia. Evie. Josie.
Mike. We collected over 5,000 pebbles, and we are in the process of our first rounds of workshops. And the idea is that all the pebbles are painted with a bright red colour. When that dries, then we have a darker red, which anyone can do their designs on, and you don't have to be an artist to do it either.
The original concept was just red, wasn't it? Just doing a little design on top just makes it a bit more interesting and sort of hopefully engages people a bit more than just a block colour.
But also when people come down to the beach, then what's really nice is that when they're up close to them, they can see all these different designs. And if someone wants to try and find their design, good luck to them. They can find it between the 20,000 pebbles that we're going to have painted. But you never know, someone might.
Macy. Josie. Reese.
Mrs. Stewart.
Leon. Ella. Tommy.
Poppy 1 for Canada, and I think Canada is an important part of the fabric of Folkestone memories going on to the present day. But 1919 was particularly poignant for the flowers that were laid on the graves were actually sown from seeds that a mother had sent from Canada for the young people to grow in their gardens, and then these Canadian flowers, as it were laid on the graves of the Canadians. And one Canadian who's buried there was G.S. Winter, and he married Elizabeth from Cheriton. He was a very interesting character. He lied about his age. He knocked 3 years off his age, added 3 years on. And then when he married Elizabeth, he added another few years so that he was older than her and not younger than her. So actually, when he died, he's recorded as being 26 and he was only 20.
Summer.
Dominic.
And yeah, it's funny, someone was asking me the other day, calling the project Lasting Memories. Obviously, the designs are going to fade within a couple of weeks, so sort of it's almost like an oxymoron, but the actual idea is that by getting those people in the community to paint pebbles, we're giving them the opportunity to make a lasting memory of the project, and hopefully, off the back of that, learn a bit of local history as well.
Jeff.
No, absolutely, and this really is a community art project. The aim is to have around about 1,600 effectively painting volunteers, and a lot coming from schools.
Gwen. Barnaby.
But also with the public workshops, anyone of any age can get involved, and we have touch-based care who's a disability charity. They're involved, and Broadmeadows as well as another charity organisation. So it really is providing an opportunity for the community as a whole to get involved.
Charlie.
Is poppy number 2, and that is our theme, is military, because what people don't really realise is the fact that from November 18 until the signing of the peace, we were an army of occupation in Europe and in Germany, obviously, because though that was the armistice, it still wasn't a peace, and there was a fear that fighting would erupt again. Throughout that time, men were still serving and men hadn't been demobbed. There was unrest in the town. Men wanted to go home. They'd had enough of fighting. But on the other hand, they were also recruiting men to re-enlist, and a lot of men also re-enlisted as well. So for some men, the army life had been far better for them than civilian life. They were fed better, they were better looked after than they were in Civvy Street.
Bella.
One of the concerns was if we were painting stones, that if we're putting them back onto the beach, it's got to be the right type of paint, and it obviously can't be toxic because it's in the environment. So we did some research, and Ben found a company that produced this totally eco-friendly paint, non-toxic paint that we could use in this environment.
Frank.
Miss Carter.
Zoe. Brett.
Put it and leave it on the beach, and it will just naturally fade away over a few weeks.
I got a bit worried initially because I tried sort of several different types of food colouring, the sort of strongest stuff I could find, and nothing was vibrant enough.
Poppy number 3, the rest camps.
Tommy.
So the rest camps were an important institution. You had one on the Lees and other rest camps around the town, and this is where men could rest up. And in the town hall there was a canteen which had been set up during the war, which carried on after the war, where they could get a bite to eat.
Max. JC. Bowen.
Last time we spoke,
Grace.
we were collecting 20,000 pebbles.
Finley.
Discuss.
Yes, and we slightly changed the amount of pebbles we're working with. So, based on all the calculations and the testing, and the fact that we're doing the extra poppy in Belgium, we've recalculated to around about 50,000. Yeah, but that was based on figures that we were planning to do in the original design, and that was almost a year ago, and we sort of hadn't really got round to working out quite what we wanted to achieve this time. So it's increased just a little bit.
The thing that we all think about when it comes to the war and the aftermath, which is the Spanish flu. So this is poppy number 4. Actually, we were really surprised. Folkestone did escape very lightly. There was a rumour that it was the gasworks and sniffing the sulphur that actually was a cure against the flu. Which seems far-fetched now, but we've got to remember this is before the days of antibiotics, so if you've got the flu, you were very lucky to survive it.
It's me. Boaz.
Poppy
Harriet.
number 5, which is about the VAD, and we've actually had a family story shared, which is a great joy when you do a project like this. So this was about Ellen Cloak. And Ellen joined the VAD, and she was actually paid as a housekeeper cook. And she did serve in the VAD in Shorncliffe before she was sent to France. But when she came back from France, she'd enjoyed Folkestone so much that she actually settled in Folkestone and worked as a private cook and nurse. And eventually she married a Folkestonian, William Gambrel, who had served in India during the First World War. So we have this strand that intertwines the army, Folkestonians, VAD.
Daniel.
Poppy number 6, which is the Belgians. So Folkestone had a huge role to play with the welcoming the Belgian refugees, the influx of the Belgians, and we were the first place that the wounded Belgian soldiers were brought to in 1914. Then after the war, the refugees began to return. They'd all played an important part in the town during the war.
Mary.
And then the final poppy is for the peace itself. It took people bit by surprise. It wasn't like we were counting down to a certain date. So in Folkestone you had a large church parade on the 6th of July. Everybody was invited to join this. But it's an interesting thing that in the paper it was very much stressed that people really wanted the returning soldiers to march, but they did not have to go into the church if they did not want to. They could fall out, which is unheard of before the war for a church parade. It would have been, you will do this is what you'll do.
Trevor.
This project was initially a conversation where we're going to need 20,000 pebbles painted, put back onto the beach in the shape of poppies. But it's grown and grown. And what's your take on how Folkestone has embraced this?
I think it's absolutely amazing, and I think it also just shows that people, because of what has been happening with commemoration, people get it.
We are constructing the public poppies here in Folkestone on the 29th and 30th of June. On the 30th, it's also Armed Forces Day here in Folkestone. Our target is to complete the last poppy before the red arrows fly over the beach.
It's very fitting that we should be doing it in a visual way so that people can actually get some idea of numbers and just the whole impact. And I think we should be thinking about the impact of war, because it's very distressing when you think that 20 years later they went and did it all over again.
Joe. Liz.
Jeff.
Whitney. Sophia. Iman. Audrey. Michael. Phoebe. Sunny. Isabel. Kyle. Brianna.